Disneyland. It bills itself as the happiest place on earth. A kingdom of fantasy, a bastion of childhood innocence, a place where families go to make memories that last a lifetime. It's a carefully constructed world of magic and wonder. So, when Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, decided to take their children, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet, for a day out at the iconic theme park, the world expected a simple family outing. Happy, relaxed, and off-camera. What the world got instead was a firestorm. A meticulously curated series of images dropped into the public sphere with the precision of a military operation. A trip that, under the microscope of public and media scrutiny, began to look less like a spontaneous family outing and more like a high-stakes, theatrical performance. It became a story not of family fun, but of alleged manipulation, of staggering hypocrisy, and of a brand strategy so profoundly miscalculated that it has been labeled a PR cataclysm of epic proportions. This was not just a trip to Disneyland. This became a defining moment in the tumultuous post-royal saga of Harry and Meghan. It was a spectacle that triggered accusations of emotional weaponization, drew scathing mockery from some of the world's most prominent commentators, and pushed the already strained relationship with the British royal family to what some believe is a breaking point. Today, we delve into the anatomy of a disaster. We will dissect the Disneyland trip that became a sensationalist, hypocritical media stunt. So how did a trip to the happiest place on earth become the unhappiest chapter yet for the Sussex brand, potentially jeopardizing everything from their business ventures to their royal titles? The first sign that something was amiss came with the images themselves. They appeared suddenly, not as grainy, long-lens shots from a hidden paparazzo, but as a set of remarkably clear, professional-grade photographs. They depicted the family on the carousel, Meghan holding Lilibet, Harry with Archie. The lighting was perfect. The framing was impeccable. They looked less like candid moments and more like a promotional photo shoot for a luxury family brand. This immediately raised a fundamental and deeply troubling question. Disneyland is a public space, teeming with tens of thousands of people at any given time. In the 21st century, virtually every single one of those people is carrying a high-definition camera in their pocket. The park is swarming with tourists, with vloggers, with die-hard Disney bloggers who document every single detail of their visits. And yet, in the aftermath of the Sussexes' visit, a strange silence descended upon the internet. There were no fan videos, no blurry selfies taken from 10 feet away, no excited tweets from a tourist who spotted the famous couple waiting in line for It's a Small World. The only visual evidence of this trip came from a single, controlled source, a set of pictures that felt, to many, pre-approved and sanitized. How is this possible? How can two of the most famous people on the planet, with their two young children, spend a day at one of the world's busiest attractions without a single, solitary, independent image being captured by the public? The statistical improbability is staggering. It suggested a level of control and orchestration that is the absolute antithesis of a private family day. It suggested that the public wasn't just witnessing a family trip. They were being shown a carefully constructed narrative, a performance designed for their consumption. The plot thickened with the issue of the children's faces. In the images that were leaked to the media, Archie and Lilibet's faces were obscured, blurred out to protect their privacy. This is standard practice for many reputable media outlets when dealing with celebrity children. But reports soon began to surface that the blurring was not done by the publications. The photos allegedly arrived pre-blurred. Let that sink in. Someone, before the photos ever reached a news desk, had taken the step to obscure the children's identities. This leads to a cascade of suspicious questions. Who blurred the faces? Was it the photographer? Was it the Sussexes' own team? If the goal was true privacy, why take and release the photos at all? If the goal was public relations, why the pretense of a leak? This single detail, the pre-blurred faces, shattered the illusion of a paparazzi intrusion. It pointed towards a deliberate, premeditated act of image management. It was an attempt to have it both ways, to release images that would generate headlines and keep the Sussex brand in the public eye, while simultaneously performing the role of protective parents, shielding their children from the very exposure they themselves had seemingly engineered. The trip was beginning to look less like a stolen moment and more like a Trojan horse, a PR stunt disguised as a private event. It was, as critics would later charge, the opening act in a play of breathtaking hypocrisy. Amidst the perfectly composed photographs, one detail stood out as utterly bizarre, a visual non sequitur that would become a focal point of ridicule and disbelief. In several shots, young Princess Lilibet was seen being held by Meghan, her feet entirely bare. Lilibet was barefoot in Disneyland. On the surface, it might seem like a trivial detail. A child kicked off her shoes. What's the big deal? But in the hyperanalyzed context of the Sussex brand, this detail became a powerful symbol. Critics immediately pounced on the strangeness of the choice. Disneyland is a vast concrete expanse, trodden by millions of feet, home to countless germs and potential hazards. Allowing a toddler to be barefoot, even while being carried, struck many as not just odd, but unhygienic and strangely performative. The speculation was that this was not a spontaneous moment of childhood comfort, but a deliberate styling choice. It was seen as a visual tool, a prop designed to project an image of a bohemian, down-to-earth, and relatable family. The barefoot child is a classic trope of a carefree, nature-loving lifestyle. It's an aesthetic, and for Meghan's burgeoning lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard, which aims to sell an image of effortless, rustic Californian elegance, this aesthetic is paramount. The problem, however, is the glaring, undeniable contradiction. The image of the barefoot princess was fundamentally at odds with the lived reality of the Sussexes. This is not a family living a simple, off-grid existence. They fly on private jets, a mode of transport that generates immense carbon emissions. They live in a $14 million mansion in the exclusive enclave of Montecito. Their lives are the epitome of 1% luxury and privilege. Therefore, the barefoot at Disneyland moment didn't read as authentic. It read as a costume. It felt like a cynical attempt to cosplay as normal people for the cameras, to build a brand of relatability that their lifestyle choices completely undermine. It was, in the eyes of a deeply skeptical public, an insult to their intelligence. The detail was so incongruous, so on the nose for Meghan's brand, that it backfired spectacularly. Instead of making them seem relatable, it made them seem like out-of-touch elites trying and failing to imitate the lives of ordinary people. The barefoot princess became a meme, a shorthand for the perceived inauthenticity that now plagues the Sussex brand. It was a detail so small, yet so loaded with meaning, that it helped to unravel the entire narrative they were trying to sell. If the staged photos and the barefoot princess created the kindling, it was the overarching theme of privacy that ignited the inferno of public backlash. The Disneyland affair became the ultimate case study in what critics have dubbed the Sussex privacy paradox, a relentless and vocal demand for privacy that is consistently contradicted by a relentless and vocal pursuit of the public spotlight. No one articulated this paradox more brutally or more effectively than the celebrated American comedian and commentator, Jon Stewart. With his trademark blend of incisive wit and exasperated truth-telling, Stewart tore apart the Sussexes' narrative. He famously quipped that their behavior was akin to going naked in Times Square and demanding not to be stared at. The analogy was devastating because it was so perfectly accurate. Harry and Meghan had chosen one of the most public, high-traffic venues on the planet for their private outing. They had, by all appearances, arranged for professional photographs to be taken. They had released these photographs into the global media ecosystem. And yet, this was all done under the banner of a family that had fled the UK and sued numerous media outlets in the name of protecting their privacy from the unbearable scrutiny of public life. The hypocrisy was, for many, simply too much to ignore. Piers Morgan, another of their most vocal critics, echoed the sentiment, accusing the couple of being obsessed with controlling their narrative while still exploiting the very children they claim to be protecting. This affair highlighted a pattern of behavior that the public has become increasingly wary of. They have given deeply personal interviews to Oprah Winfrey, produced a multi-part Netflix documentary about their lives, and Harry has published a tell-all memoir, Spare. These are not the actions of people who wish to retreat from public life. These are the actions of people who wish to control their public narrative, to be the sole authors and distributors of their own story. The problem is, they seem to demand that this control be absolute, while simultaneously invoking the shield of privacy whenever they face criticism or unsanctioned attention. The most poignant and damning aspect of this hypocrisy centers on their children. The couple has been involved in high-profile campaigns and summits aimed at protecting children from the harms of social media and online exposure. Yet, here they were, allegedly orchestrating the release of their own children's images onto that very internet. This led to the gravest accusation of all, that they were weaponizing their children. The charge suggests that Archie and Lilibet are being used as strategic assets. Their images are deployed at key moments to generate positive headlines, to curry public favor, and to act as a human shield, protecting their parents from the fallout of their professional failures or PR missteps. The argument is that by putting their children in the spotlight, they make it harder for critics to attack them without appearing to attack the children as well. It's a cynical strategy of emotional manipulation, as one online commenter put it. You cannot, the public scream back, campaign against media intrusion on Monday, and then feed the media machine with pictures of your kids on Tuesday. The Disneyland trip exposed this contradiction in the most glaring way possible, leaving a perception of duplicity that may be impossible to erase. In the world of royal watching and public relations, timing is never coincidence. And the timing of the Disneyland photo release was seen by royal experts as anything but random. It was viewed as a calculated, strategic move designed for maximum impact, an act of media warfare against the British royal family. The photos began to circulate globally on the eve of one of the most important dates in the royal calendar, Trooping the Color. This is the grand, historic ceremony that marks the British sovereign's official birthday. It's a day of immense pageantry, tradition, and symbolism, featuring the entire working royal family united on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. It is, in short, a major global media event designed to showcase the stability, continuity, and unity of the monarchy. And just as the world's media was preparing to focus on King Charles and the Windsors in London, a competing narrative exploded out of California. The Disneyland pictures. Suddenly, news cycles were split. Headlines had to choose. The global conversation was deliberately fractured. To critics, this was a clear and unambiguous attempt to steal the spotlight. It was seen as a petulant and provocative move to compete for global attention with the very family and institution Harry and Meghan had chosen to leave. Instead of allowing the king, who was still undergoing cancer treatment at the time, to have his moment, they appeared to deploy their own children in a transatlantic battle for relevance. This move fits into a larger pattern of perceived one-upmanship. It reinforced the narrative that the Sussexes are not content to simply live their own lives. They are actively competing with the royal family, setting up a rival court in Montecito. Every move is seen through this lens, a power play, a chess move in an ongoing Cold War. The decision to drop the photos at that specific moment was interpreted as a sign of profound disrespect, not only to the institution, but to the king personally. It suggested that even a major state occasion, a celebration of the monarch's life and reign, was fair game for their own PR ambitions. It transformed a supposed family outing into an act of aggression, a deliberate disruption intended to remind the world, and the royal family, that they were still here, still commanding attention, and still playing the game, but by their own rules. The timing ensured that the story wasn't just Harry and Meghan go to Disneyland. The story became Harry and Meghan upstage the king. And that, it seems, may have been the point all along. The backlash was immediate, ferocious, and widespread. It wasn't just anonymous trolls on social media. The criticism came from respected mainstream commentators, from former fans, and from a general public that felt its intelligence had been insulted. The Disneyland scandal acted as a catalyst, crystallizing years of simmering doubt about the Sussexes' authenticity and motives. Jon Stewart's mockery on The Daily Show was particularly damaging, as his voice carries significant weight with a liberal, progressive audience that might otherwise have been sympathetic to the Sussexes. His verdict was not just a critique, it was a cultural demolition. The public reaction was one of profound disillusionment. Words like betrayed, deceived, and manipulative became commonplace in online discussions. Many former supporters expressed a sense of exhaustion, a feeling of being played by a couple who seemed to be perpetually casting themselves as victims while engaging in a masterclass of media manipulation. As one commenter poignantly wrote, "You can't monetize your trauma and then pretend to be a victim of media intrusion." This single event has had a catastrophic ripple effect on their entire brand ecosystem. The timing was particularly unfortunate, coming as it did after the quiet collapse of Meghan's previous lifestyle blog, As Ever, and during the critical launch phase of her new venture, American Riviera Orchard. A lifestyle brand is built on a foundation of trust and authenticity. It sells not just products, jams, soaps, crockery, but an aspirational way of life. The seller must be seen as living the authentic life they are marketing. The Disneyland affair may have fatally undermined that foundation. How can Meghan sell an authentic, curated life when her own public life appears so inauthentic and curated to the point of absurdity? The scandal has directly linked her brand to the concepts of hypocrisy and artifice. The damage to public trust is considered by many brand experts to be unrecoverable. There's a very real danger that American Riviera Orchard, before it has even truly launched, could go down in history as the fastest collapse of a celebrity lifestyle brand ever seen. It represented, for many, the messiest chapter in their post-royal journey. It solidified their reputation in the eyes of their detractors and sowed powerful seeds of doubt among those who were once on the fence. It was a self-inflicted wound of staggering proportions, turning a potential PR win into a defining moment of brand destruction. Beyond the shattered brand and the public mockery lies a far more profound and existential threat. The fallout from the Disneyland spectacle, coupled with the relentless stream of disruptions from Montecito, has reportedly pushed the patience of the monarchy to its limit. Whispers that had long been confined to the fringes of royal commentary have now entered the mainstream. The question of whether Harry and Meghan should be stripped of their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles. King Charles, it is said, is growing tired of the constant disruption. The monarchy, under his leadership, is attempting to project an image of streamlined modernity, duty, and stability, particularly in the face of his and the Princess of Wales's health challenges. The ongoing drama from California is a direct threat to that mission. It is a constant, irritating noise that distracts from the work of the crown. Stripping them of their titles would be a drastic, almost nuclear, option. It would be a definitive severing of ties, a public declaration that they no longer represent the royal family in any capacity. For Harry and Meghan, the titles are the bedrock of their brand. It is the Sussex and Duke and Duchess of Sussex that gives them their global cachet, that secures deals with giants like Netflix and Penguin Random House. Without them, are they simply Harry Windsor and Meghan Markle, two celebrities with a grievance? Or would losing their titles make them martyrs, supercharging their narrative of victimhood and further endearing them to their loyal base of supporters? The trip to the happiest place on earth has, ironically, led them to the most precarious position of their post-royal lives. It has crystallized the central conflict of their existence, the desire to be private individuals who also command the global platform of public royalty. The Disneyland affair proved, perhaps once and for all, that they cannot have both. It has forced a reckoning that may have been inevitable, accelerating a confrontation with the institution they left behind and with a public that is no longer willing to buy the narrative they're selling. The spectacle is over, but the fallout is just beginning. And as the dust settles, Harry and Meghan are left facing a question they may not be prepared to answer. When you strip away the performance, the production, and the paradox, What is the Sussex brand actually selling? And is anyone still willing to pay the price?